Leo. This message carries urgency not because of fear, but because timing is narrow. Between January 12th and 13th, something subtle yet persistent is draining your mental clarity. And that drain is directly interfering with your financial flow. This is not superstition. It is pattern. Someone connected to the letter J has been occupying more of your thoughts than you realize. And that mental occupation has a cost. You may feel distracted, second-guessing, or unusually tired after thinking about certain conversations or situations. That fatigue is not random. When attention leaks, money follows it. Energy spent managing emotional interference cannot be used to build or protect wealth. This warning arrives now because awareness changes leverage. Once you see the drain, it stops having control. This is not about confrontation. It is about recognition. Recognition restores power. What happens next depends on whether you notice this in time. Leo. When someone drains your mind, it rarely feels dramatic. It feels repetitive. The same thought loop. The same emotional residue after interaction. Between January 12th and 13th, these loops become more visible because financial momentum is sensitive to mental noise. One sign is fixation. You replay words, anticipate reactions, or feel compelled to resolve something that does not resolve. This fixation consumes attention, and attention is currency. Another sign is fatigue without cause. You are not physically overworked, yet your motivation dips after certain exchanges. That dip is informational. It shows where energy is being siphoned. Mental siphoning blocks money because money responds to clarity and direction. Fog delays decisions. Delayed decisions miss timing. You may also notice disrupted sleep. Thoughts surface before rest or upon waking, often involving the same person or topic. Sleep disruption reduces judgment quality the next day. Reduced judgment affects financial choices immediately. Even in small ways, there is a sign through hesitation. Tasks you normally complete cleanly begin to feel heavier. You procrastinate not from laziness, but from cognitive overload. Overload fragments focus. Fragmented focus weakens execution. Another indicator is emotional charge. The mere mention of this person shifts your mood. Charge pulls attention involuntarily. Involuntary attention drains faster than conscious effort. This is why the block feels indirect, but persistent. You may notice comparisons sneaking in. You compare your progress, your choices, or your worth. Comparison scatters vision. Scattered vision cannot hold a money path steady. There is also a sign in boundaries softening. You explain yourself more than necessary. Explanation invites debate. Debate consumes energy. Energy spent defending is energy not building. You may sense guilt or responsibility that is not yours. Carrying others' emotions or outcomes is expensive. It taxes clarity and reduces confidence. Another sign is urgency to fix or clarify. Fixing what is not yours to fix creates false responsibility. False responsibility is one of the fastest drains on financial flow. You may also notice that your intuition flags pause. A small hesitation before engaging. Ignoring that hesitation increases drain. Honoring it restores control. Leo. The person marked by J may not intend harm. Intent is irrelevant. Impact is what matters. Impact is measurable by how you feel afterward. Lighter or heavier. Clearer or foggier. between January 12th and 13th. The cost becomes obvious because money-related decisions surface. When clarity is compromised, opportunity feels risky or confusing. Confusion delays action. Do not confront. Confrontation amplifies entanglement. Do not explain. Explanation feeds the loop. Recognition alone is sufficient. Notice where your attention goes after interactions. Track the after effect, not the content. After effect reveals drain. You may feel tempted to cut off completely. Extremes are unnecessary. The solution is containment. Limit mental access. Decide when and how much attention is given. Another sign is relief when you create distance. Relief confirms diagnosis. Relief is data. You may also notice that creativity returns when distance is established. Creativity signals free energy. Free energy fuels income generation. There is a sign in decision speed improving once attention is reclaimed. Faster, clean decisions indicate blockage lifting. Leo. Money does not respond to force. It responds to clarity. Clearing mental interference restores flow without effort. Between January 12th and 13th. Practice minimal engagement. Fewer words. Fewer explanations. Shorter responses. This is not avoidance. It is protection. Observe how quickly mental space opens. That opening is the unblock. You may also feel your confidence stabilize. Stable confidence attracts cooperation and opportunity. Another indicator is physical grounding. Shoulders relax. Breath deepens. Grounding supports presence. Presence improves timing. If guilt arises, recognize it as residue, not instruction. Residue fades when not obeyed. Leo. This warning is urgent because timing is narrow. Awareness now prevents weeks of unnecessary drain. The goal is not distance for punishment. It is distance for clarity. Clarity restores money flow naturally. As the 13th passes, notice how thoughts simplify. Simplification confirms the block is lifting. Carry this discernment forward. Protect attention as you would protect capital, because attention is capital, and when capital is protected, growth resumes. This is how the drain stops, quietly, decisively, without conflict. Leo. Beneath this mental drain, there is a deeper structure explaining why it connects directly to money and why the window between January 12th and 13th exposes it so clearly. Money flow responds to coherence. When coherence is disrupted by unresolved emotional loops, resources hesitate. Hesitation is not punishment. It is feedback. The deeper structure begins with attention ownership. Attention that is repeatedly pulled toward one person or issue becomes unavailable for planning, execution, and timing. Timing is the silent multiplier in wealth. When timing slips, outcomes soften. Softened outcomes feel like blocks, even when effort remains high. Another layer involves boundary erosion. Over time, small concessions accumulate. You reply when you should pause. You explain when silence would suffice. Each concession feels minor. Together they create permeability. Permeable boundaries allow mental leakage. Leakage drains confidence and slows decision-making. There is also a cognitive tax at work. The mind uses energy to predict reactions, prepare responses, and manage outcomes that are not yours to manage. This predictive load reduces creativity. Reduced creativity narrows options. Narrow options limit opportunity. You may notice that this drain intensified recently because financial decisions approached. As stakes rise, the cost of interference becomes visible. Visibility is not threat. It is signal. Another deeper element is self-trust dilution. Repeated engagement with emotionally charged dynamics can make you question your instincts. Questioning instincts delays action. Delayed action misses windows. Missed windows feel like bad luck, but are actually timing loss. There is also an echo effect. Even after interaction ends, the residue remains. Residue occupies mental bandwidth. Bandwidth occupied cannot process opportunity. Opportunity passes unnoticed when bandwidth is full. You may sense that clarity returns quickly when engagement stops. That speed indicates the issue is not complexity. It is interference. Interference is removable. Another layer involves values alignment. When you act against your preferred rhythm to accommodate someone else, internal friction increases. Friction generates fatigue. Fatigue lowers tolerance for risk. Lower risk tolerance can stall growth. You may also notice a pattern of justification. You justify continued engagement because of history, obligation, or potential misunderstanding. Justification keeps loops active. Ending justification ends loops. There is a subtle spiritual component. Energy follows consent. Continued mental engagement is consent. Withdrawing consent redirects energy. Redirection restores momentum. You may feel concern about being perceived as cold or dismissive. That concern belongs to empathy. Empathy without boundaries becomes self-neglect. Self-neglect is expensive. Another deeper insight is that money requires decisiveness. Decisiveness requires calm. Calm cannot coexist with constant emotional monitoring. Monitoring keeps the system on alert. Alert systems conserve rather than expand. You may notice that when you reclaim attention, ideas resurface. Plans clarify. Confidence steadies. These are not coincidences. They are the natural state returning. The deeper structure explains why confrontation is unnecessary. Confrontation increases emotional load. Increased load worsens the drain. Silence and containment reduce load quickly. You may also see why extremes are not required. Cutting off entirely would create new tension. Precision works better. Precision limits access without creating drama. There is also an integrity component. Acting in alignment with your internal signal strengthens self-trust. Strengthened self-trust accelerates recovery of momentum. You may realize that the drain taught discernment. Discernment is the lesson. Once learned, the drain has no purpose. Purpose completed dissolves between January 12th and 13th. The system flags this clearly because alignment is recalibrating. Recalibration removes inefficiencies. Inefficiencies are exposed before they are removed. Do not label this as conflict. Label it as optimization. Optimization improves output without increasing effort. Notice how quickly energy returns when engagement narrows. Speed of return confirms diagnosis. Leo. This deeper structure shows that nothing is wrong with you. Your system is responding accurately to interference. Respect the feedback. Adjust access. Protect attention. Money flow will respond automatically. This is not avoidance. It is stewardship. Stewardship of attention is stewardship of wealth. Once stewardship is restored, the block dissolves, not through force, through clarity, and clarity is already returning. Leo. This is where the meaning of the drain sharpens into revelation. Because once you see how attention was being pulled, you also see how much power quietly returned the moment you stopped feeding it. Revelation here is not anger toward the person involved. It is clarity about what you are no longer available for. One revelation is that you do not need resolution with everyone to move forward. Resolution is often internal, not mutual. Waiting for mutual understanding delays progress. Choosing internal closure restores momentum immediately. Another revelation is how quickly money-related confidence stabilizes once mental noise clears. You notice decisions feeling simpler. Not easier emotionally, but cleaner. Clean decisions reduce hesitation. Reduced hesitation improves timing. Timing improves results. You may realize that you were mistaking empathy for obligation. Empathy understands. Obligation untangles. Separating the two restores balance without harming compassion. There is a revelation around silence. Silence is not avoidance. It is information control. When you control information flow, you control attention flow. Attention flow determines energy direction. You may notice that your body responds first. Shoulders drop. Breath deepens. Appetite normalizes. These signals confirm that the nervous system recognizes safety returning. Safety allows expansion. Another truth emerges about boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are filters. Filters allow what supports growth and block what drains it. You are refining filters now, not isolating yourself. You may see clearly that explanation was never required. Explanation, prolonged engagement. Engagement, prolonged drain. Ending explanation ends the loop. There is also revelation about guilt. Guilt was the hook that kept access open. Once you see guilt as residue rather than instruction, it loses power. Residue fades when not obeyed. You may realize that some connections exist to test discernment, not to be maintained. Discernment once learned makes continuation unnecessary. Another insight involves self-respect. Self-respect is not loud. It is consistent. Consistent self-respect alters how others engage without confrontation. You may notice that your intuition becomes sharper when you stop justifying. Justification blunts instinct. Clean instinct guides timing precisely. There is a revelation about money flow specifically. Money does not move toward effort alone. It moves toward clarity and decisiveness. Decisiveness requires protected attention. You may feel relief mixed with firmness. Firmness does not require explanation. It simply holds. Another truth surfaces about patience. Patience here is not waiting for change from another person. It is allowing your own alignment to stabilize without interference. You may also see that your creativity returns in small ways. Ideas surface without strain. Creative return indicates free energy. Free energy fuels opportunity. There is awareness that confrontation would have satisfied emotion but cost clarity. Clarity was the priority. Choosing clarity preserves future. You may realize that the letter J is less important than the pattern it represents. The pattern is what drains. Recognizing the pattern prevents recurrence regardless of person. Another revelation is that protecting attention feels empowering, not selfish. Empowerment stabilizes confidence. Confidence attracts cooperation. You may notice that conversations elsewhere improve. When one drain closes, energy redistributes. Redistribution strengthens multiple areas at once. There is also clarity about what you will no longer explain or negotiate. This clarity simplifies life immediately. Leo. This revelation confirms that the block was never external. It was relational. Relational blocks dissolve when access is refined. Nothing needs to be confronted. Nothing needs to be proven. Access has simply changed. And, with access refined, momentum returns naturally. This is the revelation that restores both peace and progress, not through reaction, but through discernment held consistently. Carry this understanding forward. It will protect you long after January 13th passes. Leo. What completes this warning is not identifying who Jay is or replaying what happened, but anchoring the posture that keeps your mind clear and your money unblocked moving forward. When attention is protected, alignment stabilizes. Stabilized alignment allows flow to resume without effort. This final phase is about maintenance, not reaction. The spiritual message here is simple and grounded. You are not required to confront, explain, or correct anyone. You are required to steward your attention. Attention is the gate through which energy moves. When the gate is guarded calmly, interference cannot enter. The first action is intentional containment. Decide in advance how much access anyone has to your thoughts. Not time. Thoughts. Thoughts are where loops form. When a thought about this person arises, acknowledge it briefly and redirect to a task that requires presence. Redirection ends loops without suppression. The second action is rhythm restoration. Over the next few days, keep routines steady. Eat at regular times. Sleep consistently. Begin tasks at the same hour. Rhythm signals safety to the nervous system. Safety restores clarity. Clarity improves money decisions immediately. The third action is boundary reinforcement without explanation. Short responses. Clear schedules. No emotional processing outside of trusted space. Explanation invites re-entry. Containment closes it. There is also an internal boundary to maintain. Do not scan for confirmation that the drain has stopped. Scanning recreates vigilance. Trust the shift you feel. Trust is what allows integration. Another anchor is grounding the body. Place attention in breath, feet, and posture when mental noise appears. The body anchors faster than thought. Anchoring interrupts rumination. You may feel tempted to assign blame. Blame keeps the pattern alive. Release blame in favor of responsibility. Responsibility directs attention forward. A spiritual action you can take now is precise and active. For the next 3 mornings, before checking messages or media, sit quietly for 1 minute and state internally that you choose clarity over obligation and focus over interference. This is not a ritual of force. It is a declaration of consent. Consent redirects energy. Another practice is closing the mental door at night. Before sleep, list 1 decision you made that honored your boundary. This reinforces self-trust. Self-trust stabilizes alignment. You may notice money-related thoughts becoming simpler, fewer calculations, clear next steps. Simplicity signals the block lifting. If guilt arises, recognize it as an echo. Echoes fade when not engaged. Do not negotiate with echoes. There is also wisdom in reducing digital exposure temporarily. Notifications fragment attention. Fragmentation invite drain. Simplify inputs to strengthen output. You may feel firmness settling in. Firmness does not require hardness. It is quiet and consistent. Consistency changes outcomes. Another anchor is gratitude for regained clarity. Gratitude seals lessons. Lessons sealed do not repeat. If curiosity about J returns, redirect to learning the pattern rather than the person. Patterns teach prevention. Prevention protects wealth. Leo. This is not about cutting people out. It is about choosing where energy is invested. Investment determines return. As January 13th passes, notice how decisions feel cleaner. Clean decisions compound. Compounding restores momentum. Carry this discernment forward. Use it whenever attention feels heavy. Heaviness signals interference. Lightness signals alignment. The final instruction is this: protect attention daily as you would protect capital. Review access regularly. Adjust calmly. This is the action that locks the timeline. When attention is guarded, money moves. When money moves, confidence stabilizes. When confidence stabilizes, growth resumes. Nothing else is required. Hold the boundary quietly. Let clarity lead. And allow momentum to rebuild without conflict or noise.